we got even more details about the PS5 Slim. If you can't wait for the DualSense Edge, you can get your hands on a new Pro controller now. We now know the PS Plus Extra and Premium games for November. Real quick before we jump into the rest of the video, Black Friday is coming up quick and the deals have already started. Like right now at Best Buy, you can get a 48-inch LG OLED 4K TV for $569, and that is over $730 off. And whether you grab that, a new DualSense, or a PlayStation 5 itself, every purchase you make with the links down in the description gives me a little bit of a kickback, so I appreciate it when you use them. How's it going, everyone, and welcome to PS Ready. Today I'm back with Ray. We have both been playing a whole ton of God of War Ragnarok, and it's pretty damn good. I really like it. How far are you?
I am...
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
How far
Hold on.
What area have you reached?
Svartalheim.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're still kind of early.
Still kind of early, yeah. And
I'm in Alfheim. I've completed Alfheim, the story objectives there, and I am doing the side content, which I recommend doing. You get the option. It says like, hey, you can continue on with the story. You can follow a character's name I'm not going to say, or you can continue to explore Alfheim, which is a lot different than it was in 2018. And I recommend exploring it. There was a really cool side quest I just did last night, and I enjoyed it a lot.
man, this is going to be tough talking about the game without spoilers. This is interesting.
Well, you can kind of talk about it, be like, well, it picks up right at the end of 2018. Not really. It picks up a few years after.
I will sum up what the haters are saying on
Twitter.
What are
the Xbox haters saying about God of War Ragnarok? I would love to hear how stupid it is this time.
One of the things is God of War is a movie. It's not much of a game, which especially the first like 15 minutes is really just like a long cutscene. And then there's a sled. There's a sled moment where you're kind of, doing a quick time events.
Yeah, Freya, still mad.
Still pissed. Absolutely pissed. So it's a movie, not a game. It's the same. It's the same as God of War 2018.
It is. Okay, that's kind of a fair criticism. We'll get into that. I saw that IGN Korea was getting ripped to shreds for saying that it feels more like a DLC than a full game. I disagree with that completely because it is obviously a full game, but it really does feel like more of a continuation of 2018 than a full-on like, we're gonna redefine this game with the sequel. It's gonna be completely different in every single way. It just feels like expanded upon.
Yeah, I mean, mostly the same, right? But you don't really need to change it too much because it is a continuation of the Norse saga. So if you went something radically different, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
It's also a PS4 game. Like they said that it's a PS4 game. Yeah. It was supposed to come out on PS4. It was supposed to be out a little while ago, but I think the story is they had to delay it a few times because Christopher Judge, I guess, broke his back, and they were like kind enough to wait for him to heal before they picked up the mocap sessions. They also had to re-record a lot of Atreus's stuff because he hit puberty in between the games, the actor. So it's a PS4 game at heart, but I will say a lot of the realms that you are exploring, they feel a lot bigger and more explorable than they did in 2018. I just replayed 2018, so like that game feels very linear compared to this one. I think the game's really good. You probably already bought it if you're watching this channel. You're probably really enjoying it. I think it was worth the wait. I'm glad we got a game that's not technically broken in any way. It's 60 FPS, 1440p to 4K, no glitches at all, except for Atreus got stuck saying a line for me over and over again. He kept being like, there's a hole in that fence over there, and he kept saying it for like 20 minutes, and then I just reloaded a save and it was fine.
Yeah, it still runs really well, super satisfying. This combat is the only combat where I'm like, I get in the mindset of Kratos. Like, I'm like, give him the beat down, y'all, give him the beat down. And like, that feeling is still there for me in the boss fights, and then it kind of suffers from that in-between section where it's like, okay, I'm doing it's the same thing as a 2018, like, I'm solving the puzzle. I'm like, raising the chain, I don't know.
This is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on. There was a really funny part where you're with a character and he's like, what are you doing? Because you're like walking a specific direction, and Atreus is like, Kratos likes to explore. He does that a lot. And I was like, I wonder if it says that for people who don't like do what I do, which is go out of your way to find literally every chest. And I will not move on until I'm positive that every chest is broken on that map.
If there are two pathways and they want me to go this way, I'm like, I'm going that way because I know there's a chest, something going on over there.
But if you don't want to play God of War Ragnarok because you're a crazy person, we just got the announcement of the new PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium games this month. Woo!
Woo! And you've never played this first game before. It's this new experience, new open world RPG Skyrim.
Yep, you get Skyrim, which has so many different editions. I don't really know which one it is. It's probably an anniversary edition, which is cool. It comes with some Creation Club content. At this point, if you haven't played Skyrim, you're crazy. Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 Remix.
It doesn't seem to be the anniversary edition. It seems to be the special edition, which came out before the anniversary edition.
Oh, so you get the graphics upgrade?
You get the graphics update and the ability to use mods.
Okay. Interesting. And then you also get Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Chapter Prologue for PS4.
Okay.
And then you get Kingdom Hearts 3 for PS4, which I actually played, and I get it. Nostalgic game for a lot of people. I've played most of the Kingdom Hearts. Something changed in me, man. That story is just crazy.
The story is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? It started out so promising, so interesting, and then they just complicated the living hell out of that game.
Yep.
But yeah, gameplay very fun. The universes you explore very fun. The different
the toy store that isn't Al's Toy Barn. I love that. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, which is like a rhythm game. Then you get Oddworld Soulstorm Enhanced Edition, which is an upgrade to a game that was already available on PS Plus. It's kind of weird. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. I highly recommend that game if you're into looters. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. They just updated this game and made it what people wanted, which is it's like there's the whole John Bernthal story mode, right? Which is, I think, pretty bad. But then there's this new way you can play the game where it divides the map into regions and puts a different boss in each region, and then you have to go do a few objectives in each region before you can fight the boss. That made the game really fun. It kind of reminded me more of Wildlands. Next up is Chorus for PS4 and PS5. This is a ship combat game, like a spaceship game that I heard has like incredible dogfighting in it and a pretty decent story. What Remains of Edith Finch, another game that was available on PS Plus Essential at launch, so that's kind of weird. The Gardens Between, and also you're getting Earth Defense Force World Brothers, Earth Defense Force Iron Rain, Uni Chanbara Origin, and then finally, if you have PS Plus Premium, you're getting some classic games. Finally, Sony is giving us some classic games. Wow, this is crazy.
From what era?
Ratchet and Clank, the original. Ratchet and Clank 2, Going Commando.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. Ratchet and Clank Deadlocked, which is not called that. It's actually called Ratchet Deadlocked, I'm pretty sure, because Clank is not in the game. And Ratchet and Clank Future, Tools of Destruction. All of these games on the PlayStation blog are listed as PS3, so these might only be for streaming, which I would not recommend playing any of these games in that format. That's really weird.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I mean, have you played Chorus?
Yeah, I heard Chorus is really good. It's also on Game Pass.
It's like really weird.
Yeah,
it's like really weird.
It's like emo Star Wars.
You're like a space Buddhist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I still wouldn't recommend subscribing to PS Plus Premium. I don't think they've done a good job making that of good value in any way. Especially
if you're a fan of like PS1, PS2 games, right? Because that was a whole draw, and they don't seem to have been keeping up with that in a way that people expected.
So Ray, the DualSense Edge is coming January 26th, but in the meantime, you have an option that's $50 more from our friends over at Razer, because they always got to go extra with that pricing. They have a new controller, which is technically not that new. It's just new to the PlayStation 5. So this is the Razer Wolverine V2 Pro, and I think the reason a lot of people are going to want to pay attention to it is because you can get offset sticks on the PlayStation 5 with this controller.
I don't know. It looks pretty bulky.
I'm just gonna be real. This is like the ugliest controller I've ever seen.
I don't know.
It's like very weird looking.
The handles are so stubby.
Yeah.
Like that's throwing me off. It's kind of like the old Duke controller almost, in terms of like the stubbiness of the freaking handles. It looks bizarre, man. What's going on?
The only thing that really stands out to me is kind of cool is the back paddles, because it's like two little buttons on top of like more triggers. They kind of look like they look like you kind of push them down as triggers, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, the big draw here, like I said, is going to be offset sticks. And I noticed that there's switches on the back. You can turn it from wired to wireless, and you can also switch it between PlayStation and PC, which I think is kind of cool. It's $250, which I think is really overpriced. You're also losing haptics, and you're losing the adaptive triggers, which obviously the DualSense Edge is going to have both of. But the DualSense Edge also lets you set the trigger like depth. So It's $50 cheaper. It's the shape of the DualSense, which I also feel like is a very ergonomic controller. It's directly from Sony. It comes with a case. This just seems like they just wanted to get a controller out to capitalize on people who want a pro controller who are sick of waiting for the DualSense Edge.
The X factor in the DualSense Edge has got to be the ability to change out the whole module of your thumbstick. That is like game changing for me. And I feel like that's worth the wait personally, to make sure like you are never gonna have stick drift. But the thing I'm so over is that every time a new pro controller comes out, everyone's like, oh my god, it's so expensive. I'm like, dude, they have been like the same price range for years. Like I remember for the PS4 when I think it was the Vantage, they had that controller come out,
and like Scuff,
it was like around the same price. I feel like, because I bought it for my little brother, and I remember being like, "Dang, this is like a pretty expensive controller," but I didn't like. He really wanted it, and I thought it was cool, so I was like, "Let's get it for him." Can we all just agree that pro controllers are probably going to run you like 150 to like 250 bucks, like from the big brands, like the first party one from Scuff? That's generally the price range, right? There are some that you can get for like, you know, sub $100, like Power A has a couple, the Ultimate Xbox controllers, for example. But generally they're going to run you from like 100 to like 250 bucks.
Yeah, which is crazy. And I feel like paying that much for this, though, where you're losing two of the best features of the DualSense controller that actually makes the console feel next gen, I would not recommend picking this up. But if you really, really, really need to use offset sticks, this is a good option, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're really used to the Xbox controller and you want something similar on the PlayStation, yeah, I mean, but is it worth $250?
Ray, would you believe that the PS5 Slim leaked again?
That just seems to be the way of the world nowadays. No one can keep anything a secret now. Eventually, people are going to find out through whatever means necessary details about these upcoming projects, whether it be game related, hardware related, accessory related, whatever.
So this leak is coming from the leaker. It's very similar to the leak that came from Insider Gaming, and the leaker, I guess, is a really like renowned leaker with a name like that. It seems like a little too on the nose for me, but I don't know. It seems like, yeah, they're actually pretty trustworthy, and this new leak is lining up with everything we've heard so far, which is that Sony is streamlining the PS5 into one SKU, right? Like they're making one PS5 that's a digital edition. You'll still be able to get a disc edition though. It's just going to have a detachable disc drive that's going to be attached for you if you buy it with the disc drive, or if you buy the digital edition and you decide, oh my god, I'm spending so much money on digital games, I need to get physical games again, you can just go buy the disc drive, attach it to the side of your console, and then put the new faceplate on.
That's an interesting concept. I really like that.
Yeah, and supposedly it's not going to look all that different from the console we already have.
I don't know.
Which is kind of cool.
I just want it to be smaller. I'm not even really looking for any major performance upgrades as of yet. I just want the damn thing to be smaller.
Yeah, I feel like the perfect size for a console is like the PS4 Pro, because I was able to bring that home to Michigan over a Christmas break, and now I'm about to go home for Thanksgiving, and I'm like, shoot, I can't bring my PS5, so I'm kind of like really grinding out God of War because I don't want to get to like 75% through the game and then have to take a week off from playing it, you know? But if the PS5 was a little bit smaller, I think I could fit it in my suitcase, which makes it so much more frustrating.
But yeah, so I get that's a big ask, and I don't want to be like, I want it smaller, but I want the power of a freaking god in this box. But yeah, just I'm talking like, even if they took off the fins and they just kind of like streamlined that.
Well, they can make it roughly 3/4 the size, I want to say. Like the motherboard they basically cut in half, but you need those big fans still in the machine to keep it cool, and they've also reduced the size of the heatsink, which is why again you need those big fans. But I don't know, everything we've heard basically says it's going to stay the same. Like you're not going to be able to tell the difference looking at the Slim with the detachable disk drive or the original model. Where you're really going to see a difference is with the Pro, and I would just imagine that's going to be bigger or the same size.
And I can imagine it can be kind of a pain in the ass to be producing this many units, different units, I mean, especially when they're having such a hard time fulfilling the need for a regular PS5. So it's like, oh, and that's what a lot of people say when we talk about this on the channel. It's like, man, I can't even get my hands on a regular PS5 or an Xbox Series X, and they're already talking about putting out these Pro versions, these Slim versions, whatever.
The Pro's
what's
cool
going on?
Yeah, if the Pro option that you get allows newer games that are PS5 only to run at 60 FPS, that thing just justified whatever whatever it costs right there. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people once they start seeing a lot of games coming out that are 30 FPS on the regular PS5, but like running at 4K and a smooth 30, or you can get the PS5 Pro and run the game at 60 FPS. I think people are going to jump on that pretty quick because now they've experienced 60 FPS, and you will see, just like every PC player has told you for years, that once you experience it, it is nearly impossible to go back.
It's true. Switching back into favor quality over favor performance on God of War Ragnarok, it's like, God, what's happening?
Yeah, and God of War, Sony games sometimes are a little different just because they're built to be played at 30 FPS, like Horizon, God of War, Days Gone. All these games on Steam Deck look great at 30 because the animations were designed that way. But even after you experience it at 60 on the PlayStation 5, it is very hard to see it at 30 FPS. It almost looks like you're seeing every frame twice, which I guess you kind of are. And I just it's so tough for me to go back as someone who mainly plays on PS5 and PC and has been loving all of these 60 FPS games. But yeah, I would expect when this new PS5 comes out that you will see a pretty major price increase. I feel like they're holding off on the American price increase so that when they raise it next year, when they announce this PS5 Slim and Pro, they can say, yep, we're not only raising everywhere else again, we're bringing the American version of the cost up to the same level as well.
Now, it says in this leak, in this report, that the Slim is theoretically going to run cooler. Yeah. Do you think, how would that work with a smaller
I think they're just going to go with that new model that we've looked at here on the channel already because that runs cooler and it runs 20% more efficient. So yeah, this is yet another leak of the PlayStation 5 Slim that's coming next year. And I'm really curious to see how this disk drive attaches and detaches, because if it looks like it's a detachable drive, from what we've heard, there's going to be like a cord coming out the back. I don't know if I'm into that. I might just stick with my launch unit. But if they do announce a Pro, that's where you're going to see me lining up day one. I want the PS5 Pro. I want that power.
The detachable disk drive is something Microsoft definitely needs to steal, Xbox needs to steal for the Series S. That would be really awesome to see. I don't know if they have some sort of fancy patent on it or the logistics of that all, but if it comes out and that's the case, they should steal it.